Hello, everybody. How are you? How are things? Thank you for joining me and hanging out today. I thought I might do a little video discussing the band KMFDM. Over the years, I guess I might be able to call them my favorite band ever, possibly. Some people have strangely mentioned that I might be a mildly, mild fan. I sort of like the guys, and this all stems from I don't know where people get such weird ideas, but one of my coats I wear, my orange safety vest for work, even I have KMFDM patches sewed on there. There are 4 very large framed posters scattered throughout my home, and one small one, record store release poster. So I thought maybe I would show off my collection a little bit, just a few of the things here and there that I own, a little bit of music. It's just a mild fan, might have. So I'm just gonna dive right in and show off a few things and maybe see what you think. See if I might be someone that could be classified as a little bit of a fan, huh? So, got a few ideas and a few objects to show off, and I thought maybe I would start with one of my favorites is vinyl, because who doesn't like records, right? So, in no particular order whatsoever, we have 12-inch copy of the single Brute. Pretty standard 12-inch single, really. And who doesn't want to take a quick look, because that's always fun. The inner sleeve has no printing, just plain white. Of course, the vinyl itself. All of my inside sleeves have been replaced with a double-lined poly sleeve because, it's good to take care of your records. But so I have a copy of Brute. And please pardon the format because I'd like to, try to keep it short and sweet. With such a small collection of things, it's, really shouldn't take too long anyway. We have a copy of Don't Blow Your Top, which I love the artwork for this single. Good old Wax Trax pressing. Like I said, being a fan, a slight fan, I might have a few things laying around. The story is I picked up on KMFDM when I was in high school. This is late 90s, so I was a little late to the party, I guess, but this is probably my favorite KMFDM song, period, is Godlike. Love this one. This one rocks. But, I was always into electronic music, old school hip-hop, of course, but electronic and industrial, and no one ever really knew 90% of the music I listened to. Everything that was popular didn't fit in my school. When Prodigy's The Fat of the Land came out, that got pretty popular. Like, people had that CD that it was exciting to me that someone even knew anything about any of the music that I liked at all. But KMFDM, on the other hand, that really had an impact on me that was special, and still to this day, I might have a slight fondness for the guys. So this is the album Paradise, the full-length album. This isn't one of the singles. Full release. This is not old school KMFDM. This album was released in 2019. It's very kind of the fellows to print the lyrics inside the sleeve. Again, pretty standard vinyl, these ones. There's nothing printed on the sleeve casing, and as always, I replaced all of my insides with double-lined poly sleeves anyway. Also happen to have a copy of the album Hell Yeah. This particular album has a kind of revisit to an old school KMFDM track called Rip the System. It's got Rip the System version 2.0 inside here. These ones I will pull out. This is another one of my double-lined poly sleeves inside the sleeve because I like to put my records in those instead of the paper. But we have the lyrics, the thank yous, the usual credits. The other of the two. Nice silhouette of Sasha Kanitsko. Second. Like I said, standard vinyl. Nice heavy press, which is always welcome. Like I said, just a few things, right? I kind of like the guys, I guess. Unlike the whole rest of my personal vinyl collection that's inside of lid locking crates, all of these vinyls do happen to be on display on a bookshelf that I purchased, and they're faced one in and two out. So, like I said, just a slight fan. I would, have records on display. That's not abnormal. I'll save that one till last. Record store day, record day purchase. KMFDM Rocks, Milestones Reloaded. This one has kind of a greatest hits vibe about it, except a bunch of remixes. Look at the chick on the bike there. No man is a prophet in his own country. Of course. Personally, I always appreciated that they include the lyric sheets in most of the music. Pretty standard black vinyl. Another one that is nice heavy press. I do appreciate whoever it is that does the engineering for their audio for these vinyl presses, because the sound quality is really good. Just more lyric sheets. Oh yes, I mean, I may have taken a moment or two to, purchase these lipped sleeves for my records, just because, it's KMFDM. I mean, I like those guys okay, so why not? Right. Here we have the single for Boots. I was glad when I came across this, just because this was a fun cover. These boots are made for walking, but KMFDM style. And of course, this single has the classic Back in the USSA. I love that song. Money. An old Wax Trax pressing. This one is stamped lent for promotional use, unauthorized distribution, sale, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry, I won't be selling it. Another classic. Also pretty high on my list of favorite pieces of artwork. This single, or if you call it a single, perhaps even call it an EP, a few mixes. Piggy Bank and Split. And this one's another one, unfortunately. It's a Wax Trax pressing that this I got from another one I got from a local record shop, that this was a DJ copy. Had a sticker on the front of it at one point. That's unfortunate, but the vinyl itself is in good condition. Sex on the Flag and Vogue. Again, another classic Wax Trax pressing. And then one that was released on the KMFDM shop that's a recent repressing and re-release. Like I said, I just got this in the mail here very recently. It is the album Angst. This one's pretty high on my list of favorite KMFDM albums. And this one's got an extra cool feature. Nice artwork inside there. This vinyl is nifty. Of course, we got the lyric sheets. I haven't even cleaned these or dropped the needle on them yet because they're still that new. I need to get some more poly sleeves for them. But if you can see how transparent, kind of a nice deep royal sapphire blue, or as they called it on the website, drug blue. A solid piece of advice from your favorite underconfident ASM artist. If you like vinyl, if you buy a brand new vinyl, don't take it out of the package and just drop the needle on it, because it's going to be covered with bits of dust, stuff from the paper bits from the manufacturing process, and sometimes just dirt that you can't see, but it's there, and you find it when you actually clean the record. Not all record pressing houses are spotless, just put it that way. The other I don't know how well you see what I'm seeing, but I can only say this is very, very gorgeous vinyl. I just love how the transparent deep blue, it just really screams. I think it looks fantastic. Some that was also included inside the sleeve that I thought was cool was a kind of a poster, 12-inch, of the artwork, and on the back there really something, you know. I can't even think of what all. But, you know, like I say, I'm trying to think. There's, you know, the patches on the things, little buttons like this one on random things, the decal on the back of my car, the big posters around here, things like that. I might have a few shirts and things, which maybe we could look at that. Like I said, it's just weird that I've always been told I might have a slight obsession, being just a mild fan. I don't understand how, but yes, I'm purposely being obnoxious. Let me have fun with it. So shirts, I have a few, perhaps. The one you see now. I mean, sure. But there's a few others around. The cover of Godlike, which, as I stated, is probably one of my most favorite KMFDM tunes. Especially the 2010 version of this song. It's fantastic. I ordered this when I ordered the Angst vinyl. This is just the classic, the old school tumbling letters version of the logo. Because of my personal experiences, my favorite KMFDM album, which I'll get into that a little bit here shortly, but the album Xtort, and this one's, I mean, obviously it's got a little age and a little wear, but still doesn't have any holes, so that counts. Lastly, this one I've only worn a couple of times. Got this, I think, last year. Spotted it on eBay. This is from the album Symbols. I don't know if this counts or not, but perhaps I feel it should. This is an OG wax track shirt. I've noticed that they have reprints and wax track shirts on eBay, which I thought about ordering one. Never have, but this one does have a hole in it. But I've had it for a very, 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 very long time. Courtesy of my local record shop here. love Wax Trax. If you're someone that's too young or don't really know who Wax Trax Records is / was, that's just unfortunate. Again, just a few trinkets here and there, right? I mean, I kind of like those guys, so I might also happen to have just a few DVDs, such as World War III, when that album came out, because like every KMFDM album, when an album came out, they did a tour for the album. Next, there's that old Tumbling Letters logo we were talking about. Beat by beat by beat. This has both a concert and some music videos as well. Oh, I like the inclusion of the What Do You Know Deutschland artwork there. This is a Wax Trax disc. Wax Trax and TVT Records. No matter how quick I'm trying to be or whatever's going on, any video, anytime, who doesn't appreciate a little bit of tapping sounds? That is one of my personal favorites. This DVD in particular has been played many, many times. I love that one. It's got a lot of the old school. And the Stroman Dang Tour. Which, again, this is sort of the footage on this. It says Tour 2002, but a majority of the performances on here are much older KMFDM tunes. Now, this one was not Wax Trax. This was released on their current Metropolis records. Don't know if you can see that. It's got the whole crew there. Raymond Watts, Sasha Kanitsko, and of course the ever beautiful Lucia. Lucia's such a fox, but I can at least say that in the comfort of my space, because I don't think that Sasha can find me and come kick my ass for talking about how beautiful his wife is. Speaking of KMFDM tours, I've not had a lot of chances money-wise to be able to afford to see them. It seemed like the timing was always not good for me at all when they came to my area, but I did get to. I have a ticket stub from 2004. And they were doing their 20th anniversary tour. I got to go to Cleveland, Ohio at the Odeon to see them perform for that. Godlike happened to be the very last song they did in the set. But man, what a wild show. What a wild show. You talk about mosh pits, like it was kind of weird to, at some points in there, they use a lot of strobe lights, lots of strobe. And there's points when it's nothing but strobe and there's just bodies literally flopping around in the air. How crazy the place went. It was an awesome show. And of course, I just was out on the floor, general admission. And then when I ordered the Angst vinyl, I got a turntable slip mat. The one I actually wanted was not in stock, but this one was for the 30th anniversary. And since my turntable just had a generic black slip mat anyways, this now adorns it. And I have used a brush just like this one to kind of keep dust off of it. This is an anti-static carbon brush that I will just use to keep this slip mat nice and tidy. So, like I said, maybe slightly a fan, sure, of those things. Like I said, unfortunately, I can't really show you the big-ass posters because I don't feel like pulling them down off the wall, and I really don't have the space here to just hold those things up. But the last part of this may take me a minute, so I hope you can bear with me. I have just a few CDs, maybe to show. So I'm just going to roll through those. Now I'd mentioned the album Xtort. When I first had heard of KMFDM, I think if my memory serves correctly, the first song I ever heard from KMFDM was Megalomaniac, and I thought it was a cool tune. I still didn't know much about the band, but when I had actually, by the time I had heard of who KMFDM was and heard that song, it had been a little while later, after Megalomaniac had been out for a while, or the album Symbols had been out for a while. But the very first KMFDM album that I ever owned was Xtort. One of my giant framed posters in my living room is this cover. The track list on this album: Power, Apathy, Rules, Praying, Dogma, Inane, Blame, Son of a Gun, Icons, Wrath. One song on here that literally hypes me up every time I hear it is Inane. Going along with that, wait, you have two of the same CD? No. Yes and no. This copy of Xtort, I ordered last year. This is the I keep saying that, Metropolis Records re-release, digitally remastered. I was really thrilled when I discovered this existed, because being that it was my first, and I guess by extension my favorite KMFDM album, compared to the old one that I have had for, when did I get that? More than 20 years. Is that right? 20? Yeah, geez, how time is flying. The case has been replaced a couple times over the years, but that's my old Wax Trax release, and this is the digitally remastered release. So yeah, just a couple CDs here and there. I should probably mention that these are not in chronological order, quite on purpose. The order that my little CD collection fell into just sort of, it's personal, can I say. Next is a far more modern album, WTF, and you know what that stands for. I love the artwork on the front of this. It's pretty hot, but I will at least save you the time of going through all the booklets, because of course most of them have the lyric sheets, but there's also pictures and things. But notice how she's got the stick of dynamite there. Ooh, yes. The track list of this album is Krank, which is a banger. Come On, Go Off, Rebels in Control, Lynch Mob, Take It Like a Man, Vive la Mort, Dystopia, Panzerfaust, Spectre, Amnesia, and The Death and Burial of C.R. Next, of the more modern KMFDM, another one that's very high on my list of favorite albums, Kunst, which is German for art. And again, just following that same plain kind of art style or layout inside that they've kind of always used. You'll notice we kind of have that almost Amazonian babe there with a chainsaw hacking up a tall wooden cross, which, good for her. The track list on this album: Kunst, Ave Maria, Quake, Hello, Next Big Thing, Pussy Riot, which Pussy Riot, well, it sounds like a funny title if you don't know, is actually a female punk band from Russia that was rather in some hot water for, I guess, writing a song where they have a prayer to the Virgin Mary to remove Vladimir Putin from existence in Russia. And the song Pussy Riot on this album is dedicated to them and kind of standing up for them, defending their cause. Anyway, after Pussy Riot, Pseudocide, Animal Out, The Mess You Made featuring the band The Morlocks and I Heart Not. Next, we have what is probably considered to be one of KMFDM's most popular albums, if not the most popular album, is Nihil, short for nihilistic, obviously. And this is the original Wax Trax pressing. Something that makes me crazy about the artwork design is that with the case in there where the the spine is readable, the artwork is printed upside down. That was a nice touch. And then of course, if you notice on the woman there, there's the little bee floating around above her head, kind of presenting that extra annoyance. I think that was just, I get what they're doing. That's a cool touch. But yeah, this is by some considered to be their most popular or most classic album, and it's got a couple of the big hits on it. In order: Ultra, Juke Joint Jezebel, Flesh, Beast, Terror, Search and Destroy, Disobedience, Revolution, Brute, and Trust. Nice touch with the B on the disc as well. I love that. This one's not my most favorite KMFDM album, but it is an absolutely essential listen for sure. Going along with that, same situation as before. This is the Metropolis Records digitally remastered re-release of the album Nihil. Next, my old school Wax Trax copy of Naive. I guess maybe some people might consider the front artwork mildly offensive. Kinda sucks to be them, doesn't it? The track listing for this album: Welcome, Naive, Die Now, Live Later, Piggy Bank, Acton, Attention, Freed, Remix, Leibslid, Go to Hell, Virus, Dub Mix, Disgust, Live Version, and a nifty bonus track, Godlike, the Chicago Tracks version, which that version of Godlike was sort of a more heavy metal blast beats remix. And going along with that, because of, I guess, a sample or something used in a song on here, the original Wax Trax release of Naive was yanked off the market, and it was re-released as Naive Go to Hell, if I understand correctly. Or Hell to Go, sorry. But this disc is actually packed with remixes, which KMFDM has a heck of a history of doing, releasing albums or EPs that are all remix based. Personally, as somebody that, like I said, it's a lot of electronic music, industrial, and old school hip hop for me. Sasha and company has always been really cool with the DJs, and always worked with a lot of producers and whatnot for remixes and dropping these singles and all that. And I think that's awesome, because they clearly put time and effort into making that happen. Finally, God, he's got another copy. This one is the Metropolis Digital Remaster. It's got several extra bonus tracks on it. The track list on here is the same as the original album, except the extra bonus tracks includes Go to Hell, the FMTV mix, Virus Pestilence mix, Godlike Dog-like mix, which is awesome, and was kind of used to adapt the Godlike 2010 version, which sadly I cannot get my hands on that disc, but anyway. Leibslade Infringement mix, and Die Now, Live Later, Born Again mix. Sometimes when I hear about albums that have been digitally remastered, I either know it's going to be awesome or it's going to be cringe, because sometimes all they do is reprocess the audio and just amp it up. But all these KMFDM remasters are excellent. I mean, super excellent. Moving forward, Angst. This one I did not have the Wax Trax version of. If this was around in the Wax Trax days, I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, this one's a Metropolis release. The track list on this one: Light, A Drug Against War, Blood, the Evil Mix, Lust, Glory, Move On, No Peace, A Hole in the Wall, Sucks, and The Problem. And like I said, this was not one of the albums I owned way back when I was a lot younger. It's been quite some years ago since I acquired this, but I didn't have this one way back then. So I don't have a Wax Trax copy. Next is a pair that go together. Another one of the more modern KMFDM records that's very high on my list of favorites is Hal Ruck. Also one of the short stack of KMFDM albums that isn't based on a title that's just 5 letters. This one's actually a phrase, which, if I understand correctly, because I looked it up once, it supposedly in German translates to heave ho. How Ruck is one of the hardest hitting songs on this album. Just throwing that out there. Like, it stomps. Totally stomps. The track list of this album: Free Your Hate, How Ruck, You're No Good, New American Century, also a banger, Real Thing, Every Day's a Good Day, Many, 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 Professional Killer, which Lucia's voice sounds beautiful on that one, let me tell you. Feed Our Fame, Ready to Blow, and Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen. I don't speak German, obviously. I feel kind of silly when I'm driving around. If I happen to be listening to certain KMFDM tunes that I can sing, that are in German, that I can sing them, and I have no clue what the hell they're saying generally. Fortunately, 90% of their music plus is in English, so I'm good. And just a small collection here, right? So far, just a few. Just a few. But if you're willing to bear with me, I have just a few more. Going with How Ruck is Ruck Suck, which is one of many KMFDM remix EPs. Standard. Some of that kick-ass artwork. The track list on here: Free Your Hate, Captain Crunch's mix, which Captain Crunch is Sasha. Many, Many, Many. Jay Hongstorm and the Rain City Swingin' Samples mix. It's an experiment that Sasha pulled that I could live without that particular mix. Professional Killer, the one and only mix. Ready to Blow, Dwarves mix. How Ruck, Special K mix. Sasha, you naughty boy. Real Thing, the nude mix. Der Mussolini, which is a song not included on How Ruck. World War III, the one and only extended mix. And Ansage. Next up, more of what I would call more of a techno classic than an industrial classic, but that's just me, is the album Money, not to be confused with the single 12-inch vinyl I had over there of Money. This is an OG Wax Trax copy, of course. More of that classic artwork. The track list on this album: Money, which was very popular. Vogue, Help Us, Save Us, Take Us Away. Bargled, Spiritual House, Sex on the Flag, I Will Pray, We Must Awaken, Under Satan, Vogue, and Money, the Deutschland mix. Going along with that, I have the Metropolis Digital Remaster. shade of purple that they use for the money artwork is one of my favorite colors, black and purple. And yes, I'm unashamed to say that I'm a man who would claim purple, that deep, almost royal purple, as one of my favorite colors. One of the more unusual KMFDM albums in their catalog, for sure, UAIOE, which it's a fun little arrangement there of vowels. This is an unusual album. It's definitely a different sound than most of KMFDM's catalog, in my opinion. The track list on this album: Murder, UAIOE, Loving Can Be an Art, Saturation Mix, More and Faster 243, Rip the System, Duck and Cover Mix, Thrash Up, Inane, which is named after the man, Ganja Rock, and Thumb Thumb. I thought, no, that's not the one. There's a song I'm trying to think of I thought was on this album, I guess not. We'll get there. Next, we're going with some flipping classics now, effing classics. This album is another one that's really high on my list of like favorites. Is Don't Blow Your Top. We're going back to some 80s here. This is a 1988 release. I have to be in that certain mood, but 80s KMFDM is I can vibe to this, dude. Like these are it was awesome stuff back then. The sound of the 80s, the drum machines and things that we had back then. That was good stuff. But anyways, Don't Blow Your Top. Track list: No Meat, No Man, Don't Blow Your Top, which is the banger. Killing, Disgust, Oh Look, King Kong Dub Rubber Mix, What a Race, No News, Todd Dirch Bongo Bongo, Killing for Your Sampling Kit, and Oh Shit. To go along with that, I acquired the digitally remastered Metropolis Records copy, which does not have any extra bonus tracks, but a significantly improved sound quality. I guess it depends though. Again, just like when you gotta be in the mood for some 80s sound. Sometimes this might be one of the cases where, depending on my mood, like if I'm going to crank it in my car, I want the digitally remastered one. If I'm going to crank this album at home or in headphones or something, I actually kind of prefer the sound quality of the old Wax Trax release, which they sort of shrank and modified the artwork between the two there, as you can see. But yeah, same track listing. original. This album I did not have when I was younger. I actually tracked down a Wax Trax copy of this album as well, because I really like this album. But we have What Do You Know, Deutschland, which some consider to be KMFDM's first actual album, which is not quite true, but this album was, however, apparently the first European release of a KMFDM record. Literally the only disc in the whole bunch that's completely, clear, printed like that. But yeah, the original Wax Trax release, the track list on this album, where we are going back there, Kickin' Ass, Me, I Funk, What Do You Know, Kanillion, Itchy Bitchy, Deutsch Schuld, Sig Sig, Positive, Lufthansa, Itchy Bitchy, the dance version, and the unrestrained use of excessive force. Which I don't think Sasha's side project of Excessive Force existed during this time, but maybe that's where they got the name, or he got the name from. The digitally remastered version of What Do You Know, Deutschland has the exact same track list, but again, a much enhanced sound quality. See if I can kind of tap on the drum there a little bit. Again, similar to Don't Blow Your Top, this album is kind of if you're in the 80s mood, it bangs. Bangs good and hard. I love the sounds of the drum machines from when I was a kid. Alright, moving on. Another pair of kind of releases that go together. KMFDM Blitz. Artwork is sort of similar to Xtort with the black and yellow and the colors and things of the artwork on the front cover, but this album is definitely not similar to Xtort, although it is pretty hard at times. The track list on this album is debatable with some. I just call it Symbol because that is it. iTunes came up with something different, but I just call it Symbol. But anyway, Bait and Switch, Divide, Never Say Never, Pots Blitz, People of the Lie, Being Boiled, Strut, Bitches, Me and My Gun, and Take 'Em Out. So we have Blitz, and to go with that, we have Krieg. So put together, we have Blitzkrieg. He's keeping in line with that color scheme, right? The track list of this remix album: Bait and Switch, the All for One mix by Combi Christ, Strut Disco Balls mix by Andy Selway, Potts Blitz Harmonic Tremors mix by Seismologist, Bait and Switch Sacred Cow mix by Prong, Never Say Never Naughty Habit mix by Ivan De Prume, People of the Lie Requiem mix by Koichi Fukuda, Bitches Pop Will Eat This mix by Vile Elvis, Never Say Never Confessional mix by Komor Commando, People of the Lie Crooked Illusion mix by Mary Biker, Divide Cyrillic mix by Tweaker, Never Say Never by Dave Reg Ogilvy, and Divide Bloody Fog mix by Assemblage 23, which I love Assemblage 23. Those cats make some proper industrial. So, as you can see, as we've gone through here, you have to tell me I could possibly be classified as a little bit of a fan. But are you still with me? Because there's more, just a tiny bit more. I'm going to set this aside. What else could I possibly have? Oh yeah, a few more CDs. So I have a used copy I bought at the record store ages ago. The sticker's turning yellow. I hate that. I hate that. Stickers on my stuff makes me nuts. Anyway, the original pressing of KMFDM Symbols. I don't care for the design of the physical packaging of this one. The Digipack thing. I was never a big fan. Love the artwork of Symbols though. The booklet for this album is actually not removable. It's glued in there. It's attached to the case. We have the Tumbling Letters logo. But being a kind of paper digipack does at least give me a slightly different sound. This is another album that is considered to be one of KMFDM's all-time top-selling classics. Namely because of the hit song Megalomaniac, which is track number 1. Then we have Stray Bullet, Leid on Elend. I do my best, guys. Mercy, Torture, Spit Sperm, Anarchy. Love that one. Down and Out, Unfit, which is like my theme song, and Waste. Like I said, I guess this album kind of holds a place for me, although I didn't have it at first because I had heard Megalomaniac. But going prior to this, when Xtort, that was my very first. To go along with that, I have the digitally remastered Metropolis copy as well, which does not have any bonus tracks or anything, but it has a good looking disc and much improved sound quality, and the damn thing has a proper jewel case with a removable booklet. That digipack thing, I'm just not a fan of that whole packaging scheme. So the album Symbols. Moving along. The artwork on this is so cool. Attack. More affectionately referred to as Attack Reload, which is a phrase that Sasha has used in several KMFDM songs. One of the few releases here that has a fully colored disc, huh? How about that? And the font on the back is definitely a bit different too. So the track list for this album: Attack Reload, Skirk, Dirty, Urban Monkey Warfare, Save Me, Yahaha, Superhero, or Yo Ho Ho, sorry, Superhero, Sturm and Drang, Preach, Pervert, Risen, and Sleep. Oh, and in case you're wondering, yes, I know, I would be able to identify probably 90% of these tunes by hearing them, and there's many of these albums I know front to back. There's some that I don't, especially the newer stuff. The older stuff I certainly do. I can't recite everything on What Do You Know Deutschland. I can do, I'm trying to think, I can probably sing all the way through Don't Blow Your Top. Xtort, obviously. The album Attack, Reload, or Attack, I don't know this one all the way through. But anyway. Next, again, a much more modern KMFDM album, which I have a vinyl copy of there, is Paradise. This planet is a paradise for assholes. And I notice there, while we're calling it paradise, we have the soldier holding the child over the burnt city below. Track list on this album is KMF, which I won't say here so I don't get the algorithm even more upset, but KMF, No Regret, Oh My Goth, Paradise, WDYWB, which in the song it's What Do You Wanna Be, Piggy, which is a remake, Disturb the Peace, Automaton, Binge, Boil, and Blow, Megalo, which you guessed it, this is a complete remake and remix of Megalomaniac, and No God. Next, this artwork is another one of the very giant posters that I have framed in my home. KMFDM A Go-Go, which is a compilation of remixes and alternative mixes of older KMFDM tunes. This is the only time I've ever seen KMFDM kind of stylized in the way it is in this artwork. This poster, the frame I bought for it isn't just a thin wire frame either. It's real nice. Like, this is a good looking piece of artwork in my home. But we have the track list as follows: Thank You, Godlike, Virus, Dub, Rip the System, Naff Off, Mysterious Ways, which is a cover of the song Mysterious Ways, Ooh La La, Hole in the Wall, A Go-Go, and Zip, which I can't remember off the top of my head. Zip was a tune on either Don't Blow Your Top or What Do You Know Deutschland, I don't remember, but it was taken off of the original album release, and they ended up bringing it back to life for one of the digital remasters. And at the time, back in the Wax Trax days, it was brought back for A Go-Go. KMFDM A Go-Go. Next, another one of my giant posters, but it's sort of a little different in design, but for KMFDM Retro, which is sort of its own, I would almost call it a greatest hits compilation. And yay for Wax Trax. The track list on this album is Power, Juke Joint Jezebel, Brute, A Drug Against War, Light, Money, Vogue, Godlike, the Dog-like mix, Virus, the Pestilence mix, Liebeslied, More and Faster, Rip the System, What Do You Know Deutschland, and Don't Blow Your Top. Next is one I definitely didn't have, never had back then. I had to order this off the internet because it is a modern 2013 or 2013 digital remaster re-release of KMFDM's very first album called Opium. This disc, released on Metropolis Records in 2013, was a project of Sasha's, where, if I read correctly, they found this was only distributed on cassettes in the local scene in Germany. This was never on CD or anything like that. I guess a copy of one of the old tapes had been in a basement of a house that had been through a house fire and had been, obviously wet afterwards. and sort of damaged. But from what I read, Sasha had apparently extracted all audio that was possible to be salvaged from the tapes, and then used some modern tech to either have the original or close to original drum kit sounds and things, and sort of reconstructed, not reperformed, mind you, but reconstructed the old songs from this sort of demo album. Before KMFDM was actually a proper band, but still more of just a performance art thing. Despite being reconstructed and digitally remastered, even then the sound quality is still pretty horrible for the most part. You can definitely tell that these were generally transferred and processed from some damaged old cassettes. But regardless, other than you're starting to kind of get an idea, but I wanted to hear their very first actual music that Sasha and co had put out. So this disc is special because of its historical value for any KMFDM fans. The track list on this album is Fix Me Up, Splatter, The Smell, Helmet, Mein, M-E-I-N, Helmet, Mein Helmet, Warped, Penetration, a song title I can't remotely pronounce, Entschuldigung, something German, Cunt Boy, Raffle K, and Mating Sounds of Helicopters. There's a lot of all kinds of unusual experimentation and stuff on this. But like I say, it is important to hear Opium because it does give anyone that likes KMFDM, like really, truly as a fan, kind of an idea of where they came from. It's definitely an unusual disc. Then we have KMFDM Adios, which as far as I'm aware had something to do with a split. Sorry, I just wanted to get that straight. A split in the band. But this Wax Trax pressing here. This one's a little busy. It's kind of hard to see, and I hope my lights aren't reflecting off of it too badly. But guy behind the wheel smashing into the fella there. The blood. This is kind of a unusual bit of artwork. The track listing on this album: Adios, Sycophant, DIY, Today, Witness, Are You Okay, That's All, Full Warm Garden, Rubicon, and Berit. This is another one of the albums that I don't really know too many of the tunes on there by heart. If you were to pop it in and randomly pick a track, I could probably identify it. Pretty sure, pretty confident, but I can't sing most of these through. Are You Okay? I know pretty well from another thing, but that is KMFDM Adios. I guess I'll throw this in. I was pondering whether or not I would throw it on the video or not, but I will. But I have a 2-disc set. Greatest Shit. Which, other than jumbling up greatest hits, I feel like that this is like just the title of this greatest hits compilation being greatest shit reflects the attitude of the great Sasha Kanitsko, which is someone I personally would love to have the opportunity to shake the man's hand and possibly get shit-faced with accordingly. The very massive track list on this 2-disc set. There's a few songs that I would switch out on here, but generally this has the majority of what is literally their greatest or best known hits from the old school, from the older era, 2000s back to the 80s. So the track listing on this album, or this compilation, disc number 1, DIY, Tuvaboo, never could say that, Son of a Gun, Juke Joint Jezebel, Naive, Sucks, How Ruck, More and Faster, Money, Megalomaniac, Virus, Light, Anarchy, Vogue, Split, World War III, Godlike, A Drug Against War, and Power. Disc 2, Go to Hell, Don't Blow Your Top, Looking for Strange, Ultra, Itchy Bitchy, Dogma, Strut, Kickin' Ass, Free Your Hate, Terror, Adios, Trust, Waste, Attack Reload, Glory, Storm and Drang, Never Say Never, Rules, and That's All. These, I'd actually bought this at my local music store a couple years back, and I don't think I've ever even put these discs in my stereo. I'd only bought it because it was a KMFDM release that I didn't own, but as far as I know, I have all these songs already on the actual albums that they come from. Now, I include this in my KMFDM collection because it does technically belong, but it's sort of a spin-off side project thing. I think some of the story involves a little bouncing between record labels because this is on Republic, which is the only KMFDM-esque thing that is not on either Wax Trax or Metropolis, but MDFMK, like KMFDM backwards, MDFMK, one of Sasha's projects. And this album's a little different. It's not one of my favorites. But yeah, Universal Republic. This one I can't even read you the track list for because it's all over the place. Not one I really listen to very much. I'll try though. Let's see. So track listing is Now, Rabble Rouser, Get Out of My Head, Gasoline, Torpedoes, Stare at the Sun, Be Like Me, Transmutation, Control, Hydroelectric, and Witch Hunt. I don't understand, Universal, like Universal Records, Republic. I don't know the whole story as to what even landed this project or what Sasha was doing with this one. It does generally have the majority of the industrial metal sound, but I don't know. I never cared a whole lot for that particular project, which it actually pains me to say that, as much as as much of a fondness as I have for Sasha Konitsko. But moving along, we're going to get into another selection here of the CDs, but these are not albums. My copy, imported from Germany, of Amnesia. I had acquired this from Discogs. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I realized when I was talking about this album, I forgot to crack it open and let you see the disc. Who doesn't like to see discs? I like looking at all artwork. Anytime I buy a CD, I am one of those people that read everything in the booklet and just stare at the artwork. Sorry about that. Anywho, yeah, the release for Amnesia. This single has a really cool case. The band here for the CD tray is completely smooth, shiny black, just like the whole tray is. I've never seen a disc tray quite like that. I know it's sort of a weird thing to notice right off the rip, but I just thought it was really nifty. Anyway, this single track list as follows: Amnesia, Captain K remix, Amnesia, the WTF album version, Krank, Mix for Dich, Morlocks, from the Morlocks, Come On, Go Off, the Rotter Sand remix, and I Heart You. Next, I have the single, or EP, depending on how you look at it, for Salvation. That pretty standard Metropolis layout. The track listing on here: Salvation, the album version, Blood vs. Money, Chant, remix, Salvation, remix from Mindless Self-Indulgence, Brainwashed, a KMFDM remix, Salvation, the Dope Stars Incorporated remix, and Blood vs. Money, the Tritoxin remix. This song is from the album Our Time Will Come, and it's one of the few KMFDM albums that I don't presently own a copy of. Next, it's a classic Wax Trax pressing, the single for Juke Joint Jezebel. Juke Joint Jezebel, the Giorgio Moroder mixes. I haven't the slightest clue who the hell that is. This has Juke Joint Jezebel, Polymatrix mix, Juke Joint Jezebel, the original single edit, Juke Joint Jezebel, Metropolis mix, Juke Joint Jezebel, Paradox mix, Juke Joint Jezebel, Polymatrix extended mix, and the song Kraut, which was a non-album track, so a previously unreleased track at that point. Next, I have a Wax Trax pressing copy of the single Light. This single is more like it's definitely an EP. It says on here, this record contains 9 remixes of KMFDM's Light. The exact track list isn't laid out on the back, so I'm not able to read that to you. But it says 9 remixes of KMFDM's Light by the following artists: 9 Inch Nails, D. Warzow, Crunchomatic, Vince Lawrence, Excessive Force, Sasha, Son of a Gun, and of course KMFDM. Next, a Wax Trax pressing of KMFDM Rules, or just Rules. This 3-track single is as follows: Son of a Gun, Overhauled mix by Sasha Kanitsko and Chris Shepard. Inane, the Undermined mix by N.S. and Chris M. Flam. And Rules, Reapplied mix by Raymond Watts and Steve White. Copy of Vogue, Sex on the Flag, Wax Trax single. Another one of those situations where the artwork's awesome, yet I have no idea how it actually applies to the album, if at all. But the track list on this single is Vogue, Sex on the Flag, Split Apart, and Split the Mirror Ball mix. Trax pressing of what is again probably my favorite KMFDM tune is Godlike. The 3-track single here contains the following: the full version of Godlike, Freed, and Crazy Horses. There is a disc, by the way, that I mentioned earlier that's really extremely rare, because it was only a limited edition press, and I've yet to track down a copy of it. is Godlike 2010 version. That version of the song is probably the best of all the mixes of Godlike that exist. Next is my Wax Trax pressing of the single Virus, another one of my favorite songs and favorite bits of artwork. I'd love to have this on a giant poster. I just think like a giant size one of my posters. I think this one's really cool. And look, another one of those rare instances where you have a reasonably clear disc. The track listing for this single is Virus, More and Faster, Don't Blow Your Top, and High and Gale. Next, my CD single Wax Trax copy of Split. And just like the vinyl, the front is split and the back is piggy bank with the same artwork. The track listing of this single is Split, Piggy Bank, the Shock version, Go to Hell, the Fearing and Burning mix, and Naive 1991, the TKK mix edit. Which I'm not 100% on that, but the track Naive 1991 TKK mix, I'm curious if that TKK is meant to be Thrill Kill Cult. I don't actually know if it's them that remixed that or if that stands for something else. Do any of you out there like My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult? Yeah, me too. Next, from Metropolis, the CD single copy of Krank. I have a modified version of this cover minus the word Krank that I use as my desktop wallpaper. Took me a lot longer to make that look right than I thought it would. But the track listing of this single, Krank, the Captain K mix, which is Sasha, Krank, the Komar Commando mix, Krank, the Narc mix by Scold, Tim Scold, Day of Light, the Revenge mix by Bill Rieflin, and Day of Light, the 24/7 mix. Next, my Wax Trax pressing of the single Glory. The track listing of this release, Glory, the album version. Trust, Never mix. Glory, the War and Slavery mix. Lust, the Chem Lust mix. Glory, Exploitation dub. Move On, the Scott Burns remix. And Glory, the Cajun dub. Next, my Wax Trax pressing CD single of Brute. Which is another one which, as you remember, I have the 12-inch vinyl pressing of as well. The track listing of this single: Brute, the Nile original album mix. Brute, the Kunst remix by Son of a Gun. Brute, In Your Face, a previously unreleased mix by KMFDM. Brute, Punch remix by Son of a Gun. And Revolution 2, a previously unreleased mix by KMFDM. Now a rather old and slightly beat up copy of KMFDM, Help Us, Save Us, Take Us Away. Track listing on this one is Help Us, Save Us, Take Us Away, the Wiener mix. That's, who knows, it's probably Weiner, but it looks like Wiener. Help Us, Save Us, Take Us Away, the Schnitzel mix, the Jaeger mix, the Meister mix, the Oktoberfest mix, and then the song Bargled, the Money mix, the Cash Flow mix. And then, in that blasted digipack format, is the Megalomaniac single, which is a Wax Trax pressing. If you look close to that, the woman on top of that dude, there's putting that guy right in his place. But the track listing of this single: track 1, Megalomaniac, mixed by Excessive Force. Anarchy, mixed by Tim Scold. 3, Megalomaniac, mixed by DJ Tala 2XLC. Unfit, Death Before Taxes, mixed by Gunter Schultz. Anarchy, God and the State, mixed by Tim Scold. And Megalomaniac TVVA, mixed by DJ Tala 2XLC. And lastly, the KMFDM single, Yeah, from the album Hell Yeah. disc. This single is distributed by Ear Music. Don't know who that is. Don't know if that's related in any way to Metropolis or any of that. That's one. It's the only one in my whole collection from this label. Anyways, the track listing is Hell Yeah album version, Freak Flag edit, Hell Yeah Lord of the Lost version, Attack 2017 KMFDM remix, and Hell Yeah edit. We'll just move that aside now as well. And other than some of the random merchandise that decorates my abode, that's it. That's all. So, as you can see, really not, just a few things here and there. And like I said in the beginning, some people have mentioned that I might be a slightly obsessed fan of KMFDM. Maybe you can tell me if that's correct or not. I just don't know. But anyways, I hope that you were able to enjoy hanging out with me. I hope you found this relaxing and not too terribly boring. Looking at the discs and the artwork, my vinyls, and so forth. For me, that kind of thing is relaxing. I like looking and I like listening. So I hope that you have a good night. And again, thanks for hanging out with me. I am Mr. Underconfident. I will see you.